So thank you for having this chance to talk to you and to be in this conference. It was really inspiring few days, and we learned a lot. So I would like I'll explain what's happening in Ethiopia. I would like to give you, get a step back and give you a little bit of information about what is USAID and what we are doing and what problem we are trying to solve. I hope this will be working. So mainly from US government perspective, in global health, in foreign assistance, our top priority for the US government is having an AIDS-free generation and ending preventable child and maternal health. So from this perspective, and USAID is the lead US government agency for achieving this objective. And you can see for the successful implementation of this program, we're really depending on having an uninterrupted supply chain system. So for the last 10 years, for example, for USAID, we procured around $3 billion of commodity, and we also provided around $800 million of technical assistance to country to help them in strengthening their supply chain system. So how things is working in our end, and I think from this diagram we start to see the big linkage between it and between GS1. So here we have two main functions in our supply chain system. First, we procure commodity at the global level. So our supply chain system that when we do the procurement, starting from manufacturer, freight forwarder, going to we have a global or regional warehouse until it reaches the country. At the country level, this is where we do hand over the custody of the commodity now go to the country and start to flow within the country supply chain system. Normally, the country supply chain system go to three or four different level tier systems. So they typically have central medical store, then it go to the regional warehousing district until it reach the end client. The challenge what we have currently visibility only to this piece. However, our mandate is really to ensure that the end client has received the commodity, there is no stock out there, and this is where the disconnect that we have. And if we can see to this diagram, we're basically working like around 50 countries, so we have 50 of this system. And then what complicate also manner that there is many other donors doing the same like what we are doing. They are all having the same objective that we avoid stock out at the clinic level. So we need to coordinate our procurement to the country. In many cases, because we have very little visibility, you can find some countries having stock out, other countries having an overstock. And unless we have coordinating here, we can ship either more or less to the country. So the data visibility issue for us is really very critical aspect. And as you can see, the challenge that we have, to have a data visibility, we need to depend on systems that crossing multiple different organizations. There is a fragmented supply chain system at the country. There is also disconnect between the donor supply chain systems, and there is no visibility there. And to make any sort of coordination, data visibility, analytics, you need to have a significant amount of manual manipulation, which make things very difficult. One key point here, if we see that it's very obvious with all of this system having or adopting a global standard is really a key to address this issue. But for us, also adopting a global standard and GS1 standard is not just about efficiency or about saving, but really it is about saving life. Because whenever there is a stock out in any of these clinics, life may be lost. Like people basically can die because there is no commodity that can save their life there. So it is really data visibility for us equivalent to saving lives. So when I got introduced to this space a couple of years ago, again, first thing that got my mind coming from a system and IT background that we really need to have a global standard. And I was trying to looking, okay, what standard we can find that it can suit us until we got in touch with Luigi. He told me about GS1, and we all start to get excited about it. But also it is not an easy ride because as you can see, the big place that we need to have this standard is really in the country, which we are providing technical assistance, but in the end of the day, this is the national system, not our system. So we did several approach, and I think this is where most of this activity started like less than a year ago. So first we start to have more like an advocating and awareness within USAID, within other donors, within some of the country. And to be very honest with you, there have been very, very little awareness about GS1. There is also very little awareness about why we need about standards. One reason that maybe, I don't want to give excuse, but maybe this problem was not in presence many years ago because a lot of country before was depending completely on a manual system. So there was no automation, so really it doesn't matter. But in the last few years, many of these countries start to automate their national supply system. And unfortunately, it was automated in a way that is more like stovepipe system. There is no adapting to any standard. But this is where we start to see, okay, now it becomes more critical that if they're going to automate any future system, even for the existing system, we need to start putting interoperability and adopting standard as a key component there. So during the last months, we start to have this advocacy within our own organization, within the countries. And as Al mentioned, like we picked a couple of countries that to start seeing how the response will be in this country. It was Pakistan and Ethiopia. And again, like initially when I went to Ethiopia last year and we met with the director of PFSA, which is part of the Ministry of Health, there was a lot of hesitation or unbelief of what I'm talking about, but just out of politeness, they agreed to have the pilot. But then after that, we went and we said, okay, we'll go with the pilot. We did landscape analysis, understanding what is the market in Ethiopia, what vendor will have G10. And most important, we said, okay, let's focus on a pilot, not in changing any system now. And this pilot was basically like a turning point, both in Ethiopia and in Pakistan. After having some hesitation or even not really understanding what we were talking about, there are now complete supporting and seeing what is the value of having interoperability, of having adopting standard, and how you can also for the country benefit. A lot of this country, they didn't have any idea what commodity is coming to them until it is in their warehouse. So there is very difficult to do any supply planning. There is very difficult to manage the supply chain in general. So this is where we are in terms of having piloted in this couple of countries, and now we are in more discussion, okay, how we can start putting some more guideline of adopting GS1 standard for the future country system. So this work, as I mentioned, is mainly focusing on country, but at the same time, we are doing it in very close collaboration with other donors, especially with UNFPA. So in the last 4 or 5 months, we established many working groups, like around 6 working groups with UNFPA to address a couple of what we see it as like more key topics that need to be addressed before moving forward. One of it is a lot of discussion during this couple of days about global master table and how we can harmonize it, how we can make our global master table depending on GS1. We're also trying to work on developing a reference logical data model that the country can use, the owner can use, again, based on leveraging GS1. We are conducting pilots together. We are also in the process of establishing an advisory group from manufacturers to start to develop some more specific guideline, and Luigi will talk more about it. And most important things, which is very much lacking in our area, but is very important, the whole concept of data governance. It's become very, very important to start establishing more formal process about data governance, but also this is an area where we lack a lot in the development field. And this is where we try to move forward with it. With that said, thank you so much, and I think Luigi will continue after that. Thank you.